Hundreds of new UFO sightings have been made public by US government, raising the possibility that alien life is visiting our planet. The video, shot by several sources throughout the globe, is said to show things in the sky that defy explanation. Some viewers think some of these videos proves an old extraterrestrial civilization that is still present on Earth, while others believe it shows sophisticated hidden technology being operated by space aliens. In that US report, there is a strange UFO incident which happened with naval aviators and left them puzzled to this day. Let's find out what it was. When the Navy pilot Ryan Graves first saw the weird item hovering in restricted airspace off the Atlantic coast in 2014, he was taken aback. No exhaust plume, no apparent engine, and all the hallmarks of something classified, unknown, and dangerous. Years later, Ryan Graves seemed almost bored as he described his past with unexplained aerial phenomena, UAPs, sometimes known as UFOs, to a national television audience. Perhaps because such sightings grew common for him and several of his old Navy comrades. Every day, Graves said in a Sunday interview with CBS's 60 Minutes, for at least a couple of years. 60 Minutes journalist Bill Whitaker interrupted the retired lieutenants, saying, "Wait a minute, every day over the next several years?" Graves has already told his story on TV shows many times, but the interview, which was part of a 60 Minutes investigation on the issue, signified something new, that UFOs are becoming more common. The shift from kooky conspiracy theory to object of congressional investigation has accelerated in recent years, fueled by the revival of a Pentagon unit to investigate the sightings. The report, which was released in June 2021, was required by a cryptic provision in last year's $2.3 trillion funding bill, which required the Director of National Intelligence to collaborate with the Secretary of Defense on a detailed analysis of unidentified aerial phenomenon data and intelligence gathered by the Office of Naval Intelligence, the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, and the FBI. A UFO report was made public as a result of the Trump-era COVID relief measure. Former National Intelligence Director John Ratcliffe suggested in a March 2021 interview that the report will be big. Other experts have already said that it would most likely be an interim report, with more to come in the months ahead. A group of former military veterans has been trying to ensure that the problem is taken seriously by Americans. One of them, Louis Elizondo, a former senior intelligence officer and go-to UAP spokesman, told American journalist Bill Whitaker that any unexplained object flying over US airspace should be considered a national security threat. He claims that sometimes there are easy explanations for the items, but other times there aren't. It's a simple argument. If pilots continue to encounter these things, some of which have flown past US bases, and some of the most experienced members of the military-industrial complex can't explain them, shouldn't the country's leaders attempt to figure it out? UFOs suddenly became serious news story when keen observers were introduced to a fresh voice on a 60 Minutes episode. Retired Navy Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich, who claimed she had an unsettling encounter with an unidentified flying object over the Pacific Ocean in 2004. Dietrich was one of 4 pilots who saw the object, which was also caught on video and radar. There were 2 fighter planes flying during the incident, piloted by 4, 2 in each. The 2 FA-18F fighter planes almost collided with an unidentified flying object as they entered highly regulated airspace for a training exercise. Commander Dave Fravor, Dietrich's Navy colleague, noticed a small white tic-tac looking thing approximately the size of their fighter planes. Air crews operating in exclusive use training zones off the east coast of the United States often spotted unexplained objects with very unusual flight characteristics for months after the incident. Despite the collision risk presented by UFOs, aviators lacked a systematic reporting procedure for the unexplained objects. The Navy planes were unarmed, and with only aviation safety warnings to rely on, frustrated aviators and commanders went on to say that the UFOs represent a serious danger to naval aviation and a major risk to flight safety. Former Navy fighter pilot Ryan Graves spoke about his contact with UFOs on the same episode of 60 Minutes. He was one of 4 aviators that accompanied Dietrich. Graves isn't your average ex-fighter pilot, and he's still got a lot to offer. Graves moved quickly as the only member of his officer candidate school class chosen to fly fighter planes, flying his first combat mission less than 2 weeks after finishing training. Graves was one of only 2 or 3 air crews in a Navy fighter squadron chosen as airborne forward air controllers, paired with a weapons systems officer. Soon after, he was picked as one of just 2 air crews in his whole air wing to command ultra-sensitive missions rescuing friendly personnel from hostile areas. Graves went on to become his squadron's lead landing signal officer and, after extensive hands-on training, an aviation safety officer. About the UFO, Graves says that they were seen by pilots off the East Coast. One of the pilots who was involved in the near collision in 2014 told him that the UFO-like black cube, with no wings or visible methods of propulsion, was seen by many pilots in that region. A test pilot flying in a nearby area informed Graves about an experience with such an item a few years after the 2014 2014 incident. A cube in a Sphere UFO was just riding along with him, around 30 feet from the aeroplane, according to Graves, before it zipped off. One of the objects was recently sighted by one of Graves' old student pilots and a senior officer. One of Graves' former students told him, "The things seem to be precisely as you described, a cube in a sphere. They are still present." UFOs now cover at least one generation of a fighter pilot, from instructor to student. The interactions are not limited to the Navy. Graves is aware of a handful of Air Force F-22 personnel who had encountered similar objects. For his part, Graves remains puzzled about the strange objects that he and his fellow aviators observed hovering in place, irrespective of wind or flying at several hundred miles per hour for remarkably long periods. When asked whether the UFOs may be ordinary items like balloons or drones, Graves said in the interview that they had not seen any UFOs in training areas. He spotted them at airports throughout the continental United States, but not in their working zones. Graves suggested that if the odd objects were drones, they must have some source of energy that enables them to remain airborne for extended periods, or there is some vast operation involving hundreds, if not thousands, of drones and boats that are continually launching and landing, but we haven't seen it in any internet videos. Therefore, it's not possible, and drone technology was nothing near as advanced in 2004 or 2015 as it is today. Regarding balloons, Graves said that he would often see small party balloons at very low altitudes, and they appeared on the radar and also saw them with his own eyes. Cheap disposable balloons might potentially account for the appearance of several of the reported UAPs. Sub-launch spy balloons have been around since at least 1959, when the CIA began experimenting with the tactic. However, it is currently unknown whether or not a similar contemporary balloon program exists in the United States or anywhere else in the world. The United States Navy, on the other hand, is arming submarines with powered drones, such as AeroVironment's Black Wing, a compact winged drone outfitted with a sensor suite, and other countries will undoubtedly follow suit. But balloons do not accelerate to high speeds or perform sharp turns, while the object moved with a high speed and changed its direction according to its will. Also, when seen in infrared, the object had no apparent exhaust. Overall, the UFO experience testimonies are pretty disturbing and leave many concerns unresolved. While some may assume that this is all of a hoax, the idea that these unidentified flying objects are of alien origin cannot be ruled out. More information will hopefully be given soon, so that we can have a better understanding of these strange events.